Mark Leslie Lefebvre from Stark Reflections on Writing and Publishing here with some information on how you as a Canadian author can take advantage of Canada's Public Lending Right program. Every year, checks of between $50,000 to $3,000 are sent to more than 17,000 creators, and to date, more than $10 million has been received by creators from the Public Lending Right program, which is overseen by the Public Lending Right Commission, who send yearly payments to creators for works found in Canada's public libraries. Every year, one of the single biggest checks that I receive for my writing comes from the Public Lending Right program. And it's something I've taken advantage of as a writer and look forward to every year. Not only is this an opportunity for me to get paid for my work in public lending rights, but it also means that the Canadian Council for the Arts is supporting Canadian authored content in libraries, which is great for readers. Public lending right is the right of authors to receive payment for free public use of their works in libraries. More than 30 countries around the world have PLR programs. In some countries, payments to eligible authors are based on library lending. In other countries, payments are based on the total number of copies of each book held in libraries. In Canada, payments are based on the presence of a title in public library catalogs that are consulted during the annual PLR survey. Canada's PLR program was established in 1986. For those of you who aren't in Canada, here's an overview of the PLR programs globally. Just sort of an FYI for those non-Canadians, even though the content here is specifically for Canadian creators. 33 countries have set up a PLR system that's recognized. 29 of those systems are in Europe, so in countries like Austria, Belgium, in Denmark, in Finland, France, Germany, Iceland, Ireland, Italy, Poland, the Netherlands, Spain, Sweden, and the UK. The other working systems in the world are in Canada, Israel, New Zealand, and Australia. And unfortunately for creators, there's no working PLR systems yet in the United States, South America, Africa, or Asia. In Canada, the calculation of PLR payments is determined by the Public Lending Right Commission, which is an advisory body of the Canada Council for the Arts. The payment process takes a full year, and it involves 4 main steps: registering titles, verifying title eligibility, sampling of public library collections, and preparing and issuing payments. Now here's how library sampling works. PLR payments are determined based on the presence of an eligible title in the collections of selected library systems. They select library systems with large collections across different regions of the country, and they survey 7 public library systems in each language group. They don't take into account the number of copies found in each library or the number of times a title has been checked out by library patrons. And at the end of the process, they have a record of how many times each registered title was found. Only those creators whose library survey results amount to at least $50 qualify to receive a PLR payment. Here's how annual payments work. Each author payment is based on the number of titles each author has registered, the number of times each of the titles was found, and the PLR payment budget for that year. Other variables can also affect the payment, such as the author's percentage share of the work, the min-max payment set by the commission, the payment category for the title, and the number of years the title has been registered. And that's because books that are more than a few years old get paid slightly less. Each January, the payments are calculated, and the checks and reports are mailed to authors in mid-February. Now, here's something to note. If the check is not cashed by the end of that calendar year, that amount is placed back into the PLR author payment budget for the following year. Here's how eligibility for the program works. You must be a Canadian citizen. You must be a writer, editor with original written contributions in a book, a translator, a photographer, or an illustrator. Your book must be in printed format or an ebook format and have an ISBN. Your book must be at least 48 pages long or 24 pages long for a children's book. Your book must be in one of the eligible genres, and registration for new titles takes place between February and May of each year. Here are the eligible genres: fiction, poetry, drama, children's literature, nonfiction, scholarly work. Here are the ineligible genres: practical books such as cookbooks, self-help, how-to guides, travel guides, manuals, reference works, etc. Educational books, textbooks, books resulting from a conference, seminar, or symposium. Periodicals such as newspapers and magazines. As a new title, which means a second or subsequent edition of a previously eligible book, unless at least 50% of this edition constitutes completely new text, not revised text. That is to say, if you've only updated, let's say, 10% of a previously registered edition, that doesn't qualify. More than 50% of the book has to be updated in order to qualify as a new edition. If you want to learn more about the Public Lending Right program in Canada, check out publiclendingright.ca. You can also call 1-800-521-5721, or in the local Ottawa area, call 613-566-4378. You can also email them at plr@canadacouncil.ca. If you want to get more great free tips for writers, check out starkreflections.ca for my podcast, or markleslie.ca/podcast, or you can check out the YouTube videos on youtube.com/markleslielefebvre.